Good evening, or I should say good afternoon, South Mississippi. Meteorologist Taylor Graham here. I'm here in the newsroom to give you the latest on our forecast, and we actually have a decent amount to talk about in our forecast over the next week or so. A lot of changes on the way, not only in terms of our rain chances, but also temperatures heading into the rest of October and into early November. I've got a little bit of a sneak peek at what we could be looking at for Halloween. I know we are still several days out from that, but I know a lot of people will have plans at that point. Spoiler, things are looking more fall-like by the end of the month. Now, as for today, it's been warm. It's also been a little bit more humid, or I really should say a lot more humid than what it was yesterday. You've probably been able to notice that outside. And it is going to stay a little bit muggy this evening. There does remain a small chance for a few isolated showers this evening and later tonight as a cold front begins to push through South Mississippi, but it doesn't look like we're going to see a ton of rain with this. At the very most, just a few isolated showers. Now, by early Wednesday morning, things are going to be less humid thanks to that cold front, and we will see temperatures drop into the upper 50s and low 60s. Right now in Gulfport, pretty warm outside. We're sitting at 80 with a heat index of 82. Yesterday we had dew points in the 40s. Well, today we have dew points in the mid 60s, and so that's a pretty significant increase in the humidity or the dew point over the past 24 hours or so. And so certainly you can tell it is feeling more humid outside. And for the most part, we are seeing temperatures in the low to mid 80s this afternoon. If you're taking the boat out tonight, keep in mind that because of that cold front, winds are going to be picking up overnight tonight into early Wednesday morning. We'll see winds shifting out of the north and northwest. Maybe a little bit choppy at times over the sound, especially where we're going to be feeling the effects of that cold front a little bit more. And by the way, sunset this evening a little bit earlier at 6:18. As for our tides, we will be seeing high tide very late tonight. Low tide will be happening early tomorrow morning, a little later for Bay St. Louis. Water temperature right now still remains in the mid 70s over in the Back Bay. We can easily spot that cold front on satellite and radar. We've got that line of showers and thunderstorms. In addition to that, a good bit of cloud cover. These are not moving too terribly quickly, but they will slowly push through later tonight into tomorrow morning. Now, it does look like some of this rainfall will start to break apart a little bit as it gets closer to South Mississippi, especially if it moves in during the evening as we start to lose a little bit more of that daytime heating. But behind the front, you can tell how much drier the air is. And notice there, Little Rock, Tunica, dew points in the 30s and 40s. Meanwhile, along the Gulf Coast, even in parts of Louisiana, we've got dew points in the 70s. So a big spread in dew points right now across the southeast. Now, those lower dew points, the lower humidity, that will be moving in by tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. The drier air settles in, making it feel much more comfortable. Where we have seen a little more rain and cloud cover today, temperatures are in the 60s and 70s, but along the Gulf Coast, it's very warm, especially over in New Orleans at 87, 89 over into Lake Charles, just shy of 90. But tomorrow, it is going to be a good bit cooler. Many of us tomorrow may not even make it out of the 70s, it looks like. So a more fall-like day is expected throughout the day. So as we head into the rest of the evening, I'm going to go back here and rewind this just a little bit. We may see a bit of an increase in the cloud cover this evening and overnight tonight. A few spotty showers are going to be possible. Those of you that have been wanting more rainfall, and we do need more rain, I wouldn't get your hopes up too high with this system. Just doesn't look like we're going to be seeing a ton of rain out of this cold front. Behind the front, the air is going to be cooler and drier. Maybe not a huge drastic drop in temperatures by Wednesday morning, but the lower humidity will make it feel comfortable. And by tomorrow afternoon, despite seeing a lot of sunshine, many of us will stay in the mid to upper 70s. I believe right now we're forecasting a high of 80. That's going to be on the high end. We'll see how far south that cooler air is going to be settling in from the north. Then the real chill in the air arrives Wednesday night into Thursday. Check this out. We are looking at morning lows again in the upper 40s to low 50s. And when you consider how low the humidity is going to be, it's definitely going to feel crisp outside on Thursday morning. And by Thursday afternoon, absolutely gorgeous, mostly sunny sky with high temperatures in the upper 70s. Finally settling into a little bit more of a fall-like pattern. As we get into Wednesday, Thursday, and even into Friday, things are looking pretty nice. Dew point's not going to be too terribly high, but as you can tell there, By Saturday and Sunday, we start to get an increase in the humidity, dew points back in the 60s and 70s. It is going to be feeling more muggy outside, and with more of this moisture, that is going to set us up for more rain this weekend. Now, we may have to increase our rain chances on Sunday. We did get in some of our latest forecast models this afternoon. Hints are that Sunday could be a rainy day here on the coast, maybe even potentially stormy, which I know the timing of that is not great. I know a lot of people will have weekend plans probably outside, but on the other hand, we do need more widespread rain here in South Mississippi, so it's not all bad. Saturday may be the better day to have outdoor plans. At this point, Saturday is looking drier than Sunday. So this is just one particular run of one forecast model, but the trend continues to show a little bit of an increase in coverage of rain as we get into Sunday. This is stopped on Saturday. Notice it's not showing a ton of rain throughout the day on Saturday. Could see a few showers though with this low pressure system. If that warm front moves a little bit farther to the north, we could see another surge of that higher humidity, which we already do expect an increase in the humidity at this point. This low pressure system will be passing nearby, allowing showers and thunderstorms to develop. We'll keep an eye on things as well for that severe weather potential. We're not ruling that out on Sunday. Now, the exact timing of when we're going to see these showers and storms still unknown. Just generally speaking, keep in the back of your head that Sunday is looking to be the wetter day of the weekend. And then as we get into Monday, I wouldn't be surprised if we had a few showers lingering. But again, Sunday looks to be the wettest day of this upcoming weekend. Over the next 5 to 7 days, at this time, there is a potential that some of us may be picking up 1 to 2 inches of rain. Now, take these numbers with a grain of salt because we are still several days out from Sunday. These details will change a little bit. We'll have to fine tune them as we get closer to the weekend, but I'm showing this to show you there's a potential for a decent amount of rain on Sunday. And within those stronger thunderstorms, if that materializes, could see some localized heavier rainfall. Not ruling that out. So again, I'm getting a lot of Facebook comments that you need more rain. We are considered to be under a drought in South Mississippi. So Sunday, that's going to be the day where we finally could get a little bit of that drought relief. Now looking even farther ahead to the end of the month and into the beginning of November, signs are showing that we'll have cooler than normal or cooler than average temperatures to wrap up the month and going into November. And of course, if the last day of the month is Halloween, that's a Friday. I know a lot of people will be out and about dressing up for that, going trick-or-treating with your family. As far as rain goes, it's really too early to say if that's going to be an impact, but just showing this to show you too that the overall pattern is showing a cool down by the end of the month and into the first few days of November. Now, this is stopped on the 30th, but generally speaking, it looks like we're going to be seeing a big trough or big dip in the jet stream move in from the north, encompassing parts of the Midwest and the Southeast by the end of the month. And if that's the case, we will see a surge of much cooler air move in just in time for Halloween. Now, we are still talking several days out from this, but the overall pattern is showing a change from that warm weather to much cooler weather, again, just in time for the holidays. So stay tuned on that. Things are looking cooler by Halloween, probably putting everybody a bit more into the Halloween spirit, if you ask me. We'll keep an eye on things over the next several days. In the tropics, if you didn't know, we do have a new tropical storm that is in the Caribbean. This is Tropical Storm Melissa. A little bit lopsided at this time. Winds are at 50 miles per hour as of 1 o'clock this afternoon. And notice that the cone of uncertainty looks more like a circle at this point. And that's because Melissa is really not going to be moving around too much over the next several days. We do expect Melissa to strengthen into a hurricane by the end of the week and into the weekend. They've already put out some hurricane watches, I believe, for parts of Haiti. Jamaica also closely going to be watching this as well. We will likely see some of those tropical storm and hurricane watches be upgraded to warnings depending on the track of this. Now, at this point, Melissa does not look to be a threat to the Gulf Coast. If anything, by early next week and even into the middle of next week, it may be curving out back into the Atlantic. But a lot of those Caribbean islands, Jamaica, Haiti, Dominican Republic, even Cuba, need to keep a close eye on this over the next several days. But again, it does not look like Melissa is going to be a Gulf Coast threat. As you can tell on satellite, fairly lopsided, but the hurricane hunters, they have been flying through this. They consider it to have a center of circulation. It's currently moving to the west, but eventually it will meander around the Caribbean over some very warm waters over the next few days. These are some forecast models. Notice that some of them have it curving up near Jamaica, possibly curving up into Haiti or Cuba. So again, those Caribbean islands really need to keep a close eye on things, and eventually it may be curving out into the Atlantic. I know some forecast models have it kind of meandering into the Western Caribbean, but based off of what I can tell with the pattern setting up, I think there's a better chance that it's going to be moving into the Caribbean, or excuse me, back into the Atlantic by the early part of next week and into the middle part of next week. So we are getting into the end of October where we generally don't see as much tropical activity. That's not to say it can't happen. Obviously, we're keeping an eye on Melissa, which is still expected to become a hurricane. Once we get into November with the waters in the northern Gulf really beginning to cool down, we don't typically get as much tropical activity. The pattern changes, and hopefully, fingers crossed, if we're lucky, we're going to be ending this year on a quiet note, at least in the Gulf Coast for hurricane season. Stay tuned on that. We can't let our guard down just yet, but at least for the time being, it looks like Melissa is not going to be a threat to the Gulf. Now, the next name on the list is Nestor. The National Hurricane Center has no other areas highlighted at this time for possible tropical development. We'll keep you posted if anything changes, but fingers crossed that as we get into November, hurricane season begins to wrap up. Locally, the weather's going to be really nice the next few days. I know it's been warm and a little muggy today, but by tomorrow and especially on Thursday, beautiful, tons of sunshine. I would say high temperatures may not get out of the 70s for some of us. We're forecasting a high of 80 on the coast, but some inland areas, you may only warm up into the upper 70s. And check out that morning low. Thursday morning, low 50s on the coast. Could easily see some upper 40s a little farther inland. Stay tuned on the weekend. We are looking at a pretty good chance of seeing some showers and storms by Sunday. That looks to be the wetter day of the week. I know it's unfortunate it falls on the weekend where I'm sure a lot of people have plans, but again, we do really need more rain in South Mississippi. And stay tuned on that Halloween forecast. That is next Friday. Signs are showing that things are going to be a good bit cooler at that point. We're still too far away to really pinpoint how cool it's going to get, but the overall pattern looks like it's going to be changing into a cooler pattern by the middle to end of next week and possibly into the first few days of November. Time now is 3:15. We will be having our 4 o'clock newscast coming up in 45 minutes, and I'll have another breakdown of her forecast. Plus, we will have the very latest on Tropical Storm Melissa. The National Hurricane Center will be releasing that. So we'll have the latest weather and news coming up at 4 o'clock today. We hope to see you there.